Shannon, as a little girl, did you dream of being a CEO in a big company?
I don't recall dreaming about being a CEO, but no doubt, as the big sister of the family, I liked being the boss. My transition to the role I'm in today, which is president and CEO of MMA here in Florida, that was 8 years ago. And at first, I was really excited, also terrified, and a bit apprehensive, if I'm being honest. And for me, that meant being of service to colleagues, right? Being one of them, not the big sister boss of them, but being part of the team, right? Not being that dictator, but being that one who says, I'm here with you and I want to win with you. And I win by helping them win. So what I learned.
Hearing that. So, what do you love most about being the CEO of a large organization of MMA Florida?
I think what I love most about it is that I'm CEO, but that I'm not any different than anybody else. Like, I want to win, the team wants to win, and the times that I enjoy the most are when we're all working together and we're rowing that boat in the same direction, and we're just all giving it our all. Once we have that realization as a team that it's not any one of us, it's all of us. And I really work on that a lot, with me and my team, my executive team and our leadership team. That's just a great feeling. You just feel like you are, the Super Bowl champions, right? From year to year, trying to just make something happen, but you're not in it alone, and you're in it with a lot of other people that are committed to win as well.
One thing that is really that you're highlighting over and over, and that is one, your happiness, that's paramount to you, is that you're happy, but that anybody has the opportunity to be happy, that they have to start there. It's important for them to understand their passion. So can you give us a tip or two on beginning to do some self-exploration to find that passion?
Sure. I like to find a quiet place and sit down, right? If it's like, I like the water. So sometimes if it's just going to the beach, sitting by a pool, putting your feet in some water, taking a bath, whatever it is, really stop and think about what excites you, right? Some people always had a dream. Like when I was a kid, I used to dream about being this. Some people have never had a dream. If you've never had a dream, I encourage you to dream now. Don't think it's not possible. Anything is possible, but it starts with you believing that it is possible. So when you sit in that quiet environment, think, you know what really excites me? What am I passionate about? What gets my gears moving? Besides just your family, because that's always a thing that everybody's passionate about, right? People love their people. But what else? What else is something that you love that's independent of the people around you? What are things that just make you go, ooh, I'm so excited for that? It could be something small. It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes people think like, if I make a change, a transition, it's got to be some life-altering, earth-shattering thing. No, it doesn't. It's like an impact. You can impact one person. It's still an impact. So if it's something small, if it's just, you know what, I always love books. Maybe I want to go be a librarian. That's enough. That's great. You're going to impact lives as a librarian, right? If it's, I always love to crochet. Well, you can start crochet circles. People would love to have some activity to do, right? There's just so many little things that can make you happy, but you just have to stop and think about it. What actually makes you happy? Sometimes it's been so long since somebody asked you, are you happy? And what makes you happy that you don't even know anymore. So you have to really just sit down and think, listen to the universe for a little bit and be like, you know what? In the 4th grade, I was always excited by this. Did that still excite me in the 9th grade? Did that still excite me into college? You can always look back at your old passions that you might have let go of. Is there anything that you still want that's still doable? Like I used to want to own a bookstore. bookstores aren't as popular as they once were. That's okay. So maybe instead of owning a bookstore, I just end up writing some books. You know, I just shifted the idea, but I still have that idea.
Yeah. Tell us the Squared Away story. Why did you start Squared Away? Start with the mission and just tell us about Squared Away.
One of my clients called me after about 6 months, and he said, you know, my company is growing and I really need you to grow with it. So that means you should probably build a company. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know about that. But I have a 1-year-old and I live in Hawaii. I don't know. So I thought about it and I called him back and I said, well, if this is going to happen, we're going to do it with military spouses as our mission. Because I had seen, you know, for years, my friends and acquaintances struggle with finding positions regardless of what their background was, just because they were military spouses. So
Michelle, say more about that. Because they were military spouses, what about being a military spouse would make an employer resist?
Every piece of feedback that I've received when I was applying for a job was, you're not going to be here that long. Or, you know, I don't want to invest in you if you're just leaving. And that just didn't seem very fair to me. And I mean, I have challenges for employers out there who are interested in hiring military spouses, but it's to kind of shift that narrative and say, well, I have you for 3 years. Like, how can we work together and do amazing things for 3 years? Like, you're missing out on an amazing individual just because you don't want them to retire with your company. That's a little ridiculous, I feel like.
So you wanted to change the narrative for employers. And what narrative did you want to create for military wives?
That they can have a career, that it is possible to just be more than spouse and parent, and you don't just have to, you know, volunteer, and you don't have to start as low man on the totem pole at every duty station. You can literally take Squared Away, for instance, if you work with us, and take that time off to move, and then you're still working and you're not losing seniority in your position.
Yeah. So how has self-doubt, if at all, how has self-doubt played throughout your journey here that you've just shared with us?
Like I think many others could relate, self-doubt it's been part of the entire journey. It's been part of the entire experience. And I'll mention that that's such a timely question and a timely sort of concept to ponder, because, you know, not only am I fairly new to this new education journey that I'm on, but I also I just took on a new job that's related to the field, and I'm really new at it, and self-doubt just abounds. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, and to, you know, I think that if we're honest with ourselves, we all feel it. And sort of based on my recent experience, and also the way that I generally try to relate to scary feelings or, you know, unpleasant feelings, is to acknowledge it, you know, say hi to it.
Yeah.
You know, get comfortable with it. But at the same time, or maybe subsequently, letting that inner voice that's actually calling you to do whatever it is you're doing speak louder. You know, I think, and we talk a lot in my graduate school program about emotions and acknowledging them and not repressing them. And there, you know, is tons of clinical evidence and, you know, theoretical basis, you know, for why that's not a positive thing to repress feelings. But again, I find that just acknowledging it, and also on a collective level, just remembering that that we're all human and we all feel it. You know, no one is alone. Even the most confident person, you know, at the you know, on the stage for the lecture, or the professor, or, you know, whoever you're listening to or seeing, you know, people, everyone has it. So again, I think to tie that all up, just letting that voice that compelled you to do whatever it is you're trying to do in the first place, let that voice lead, but while also, you know, making space for that self-doubt or that fear or whatever that negative, quote unquote, emotion might be.
You got a lot of activity around what you said there, that women are doers and it's time to break the mold. So would you share with us your thoughts and how that integrates into the work that you do? But first, your thoughts on women being doers, breaking the mold, and transitioning into leadership?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And so one piece of clarity is I don't want people to assume that you're either a doer or you're a leader, because some of the greatest leaders I've ever met are hands-on leaders. They are doers. They'll roll up their sleeves and they'll dig in when they need to. So what I'm talking about is shifting a mindset from doing, which is really having currency awarded toward the amount of work you do or the tasks or the contributions you make, versus the currency being how you do the work. And so the work of a leader, they spend more time focusing on how to delegate, how to lift others, how to empower people on their team so that the work collectively is done. We help them learn how to assign the value to teaching others to do the work, empowering others. And then the value becomes a task that is geared toward themselves versus a whole task list of items that they have to get done to make somebody else happy. So by virtue of empowering other people, building teams, completing the work, they're investing in themselves, and that work pays off and rewards them versus a whole task list of items that's just going to pay off and reward somebody else.
Uh, 40% of that 50% are executives and are CEOs of organizations. And I think that speaks to what you're saying, Tiffany, that the allyship is saying, I want to learn more. I want to learn more from people like Tiffany.
And to those 40%, I would say thank you. Thank you for being an ally. We help you. We've helped many men in the past. We have, you know, numerous amounts of men that, I'll give one example. You know, I had a gentleman that I was working with that was struggling to lead a female who also had a very diverse cultural background. And we spent many weeks together and we talked specifically about the communication differences. We talked specifically about what work looks like when the female considers it successful versus when the male considers it successful. And those two became very close. When I first walked into the situation, it was just a very standard progressive disciplinary process that was taking place. And that female was at a risk for losing her job because she wasn't performing according to standard expectations. And that male was doing nothing wrong. He was doing exactly what the organization had set up infrastructurally for him to do as a good leader. But we spent time getting to know those idiosyncrasies. How this person shows up and thinks that they're doing what's being asked of them is very different than what her male leader was seeing and what he was expecting.
Right.
So we do that work. And I thank all of the male allies that we have out there that are willing to sit down and see those idiosyncrasies, especially the decision makers who can say, you know what, this process isn't equitable. This process is broken and I'm in a position to change this process.
Right.